and to please stand up when our chief guest arrives. I kindly request everyone to please rise for the welcome of our honorable chief guest with a huge round of applause. I request honorable chief guest and director Indira Gandhi National Forest Academy to please take a seat in the dignitaries row. Thank you, everyone. Our flag does not fly because the wind moves it. It flies with the last breath of each soldier who died protecting it. I, Kirti Chaudhary, IFS probationer from 2023 batch, extend a warm welcome to the chief guest of today's program, Honorable Mr. Justice Sudhanshu Dhulia, Judge, Supreme Court of India, Director, Indira Gandhi National Forest Academy, and the learned gathering. Today, we all have gathered here for a solemn occasion to commemorate and pay tribute to Kirti Chakra P. Srinivas sir, a great visionary who has sacrificed his life for our nation and Mother Nature. P. Srinivas sir was born on 12 September 1954 in Andhra Pradesh. He joined Indian Forest Service in 1979 and was allotted Karnataka cadre. During his training at Indira Gandhi National Forest Academy, he was awarded College Prize for Botany. Deeply inspired by ideas of Mahatma Gandhi, he made immense contributions in employment-oriented welfare activities, construction of temples for local gods, housing scheme for tribal people, to name a few. With his keen demeanor, he dealt with Veerappan, a forest brigand, sandalwood smuggler, and a poacher. P. Srinivas sir eventually made a supreme sacrifice of his life for protection of forests and its resources. May this gathering serve as a platform for fostering inspiration and collective remembrance. Now, I invite Mr. Sahil Poswal, IFS probationer from 2023 batch, to please present the welcome address.
Thank you, Kirti. Good morning, everyone. Honorable Mr. Justice Sudhanshu Dhulia, Judge, Supreme Court of India, our esteemed chief guest for today's program, we are highly privileged to welcome you to this solemn occasion as we gather to commemorate and pay tribute to the Kirti Chakra P. Srinivas IFS. Your presence lends dignity to this gathering and underscores the profound significance of this event. Respected Director, Indira Gandhi National Forest Academy, Dr. Jagmohan Sharma IFS, we are honored to have you gracing this event. I extend a heartfelt welcome to our distinguished guest, Srimati Kanchan Devi, Director General of Indian Council of Forestry Research and Education, Shri Sameer Sinha, PCCF Uttarakhand, Mr. Sanjeev Chopra, former Director of Labasna, Shri Rajkumar Bajpayee, Additional Director, IGNFA. We are honored by your presence, which brings immense value to this event and reflects your dedication to environmental conservation. A special welcome to the family members of Srinivas sir, who join us in this program through virtual participation. Your presence serves as a touching reminder of his dedication and sacrifice in the service of our environment. I extend a warm welcome to the honorable judges, senior judicial officers, office bearers of Bar Association Dehradun, and members of Bar Council Uttarakhand. Your expertise and dedication to justice in biodiversity and environmental conservation are invaluable. I'm also pleased to welcome the senior IFS officers from IGNFA, ICFRE, FRI, Forest Survey of India, Directorate of Forest Education, Wildlife Institute of India, and KESFOS Dehradun. Your collective experience and wisdom greatly enrich this gathering. Also, a heartfelt welcome to retired Indian Forest Service officers. Additionally, I'm honored to have with us Professor Harish Purohit, Professor Harsh Dobal, Ms. Anupama Joshi Shetty, and Ms. Anita Joshi from the Doon University and other distinguished organizations. A warm welcome as well to the IFS probationers of the 2023 batch and the foreign trainees from the Royal Kingdom of Bhutan. Your presence symbolizes the ongoing commitment to environmental stewardship. Let me extend a heartfelt greeting to the scientists, research scholars, and students from ICFRE and FRI who are with us today, bringing their spirit of curiosity and dedication that fuels our shared journey in knowledge and remembrance. A warm reception goes to the scientists, faculty members, and law students from UPES Dehradun who have graciously accepted IGNFA's invitation and joined us for this occasion. I also extend my regards to the dedicated employees and staff of IGNFA present here with us. In this moment of reflection, on behalf of the Director, Indira Gandhi National Forest Academy, I warmly welcome each one of you to this memorial lecture in honor of Kirti Chakra P. Srinivas sir. May this gathering inspire us all as we honor his legacy and draw strength from his passion for preserving our environment. Thank you.
Thank you, Sahil. Ladies and gentlemen, it is our true privilege we have amidst us today a person of great eminence and accomplishment to present the memorial lecture, a revered justice of the Supreme Court of India. Sir's career is a testament to his profound dedication to ideals of justice, equity, and ecological preservation. The tenure of Honorable Lordship is adorned with landmark judgments that have not only fortified the foundations of law, but have also championed the cause of our environment and natural heritage. With deep sense of honor and reverence, I humbly request Honorable Mr. Justice Sudhanshu Dhulia, Judge, Supreme Court of India, the chief guest for today's event, to grace the dais with his presence. May I request all of you to please welcome the chief guest with a huge round of applause. I also request Director Indira Gandhi National Forest Academy to kindly come on the stage and take his seat. Thank you, sir. As we sit in the esteemed presence of our chief guest, a tradition of goodwill and honor calls us forward. I request Director Indira Gandhi National Forest Academy to present a bouquet to welcome our honorable chief guest. Thank you, sir. Now I invite Mr. Abhimanyu Singh, IFS probationer from 2023 batch, to introduce our venerable chief guest.
Thank you, Kirti, for inviting me here to introduce our chief guest for the occasion, Honorable Lordship Justice Sudhanshu Dhulia. A very warm good morning to members of this august assembly. It is my absolute honor and privilege to introduce a distinguished luminary of the judiciary, a revered judge of the Supreme Court of India, whose profound legal acumen has left an indelible mark on our legal landscape. Honorable Justice Sudhanshu Dhulia was born on August 10, 1960 in Lansdowne, in the district of Garhwal, now part of the state of Uttarakhand, India. He hails from a family with a distinguished legal and public service background. His father, late Sri Keshav Chandra Dhulia, served as a judge of the Allahabad High Court, while his grandfather, late Sri Bhairav Dutt Dhulia, was a noted freedom fighter. Justice Dhulia pursued his legal studies and completed his law degree in the year 1987, after which he began practicing at the Allahabad High Court for over 13 years. With the formation of the new state of Uttarakhand in the year 2000, he shifted his practice to the Uttarakhand High Court. In the same year, he was appointed as the first Chief Standing Counsel of Uttarakhand, and subsequently he also served as the Additional Advocate General of Uttarakhand. In 2004, Justice Dhulia's legal acumen was formally recognized when he was designated as a senior advocate. On November 1, 2008, Justice Dhulia was honored with his appointment as a permanent judge of the Uttarakhand High Court, marking a significant milestone in his judicial career. Throughout his tenure, Justice Dhulia has delivered landmark judgments that have resonated across legal and societal landscapes. In 2018, he delivered a pivotal ruling declaring certain provisions regarding reservations in public service for those involved in the creation of state of Uttarakhand as unconstitutional. Another notable judgment came in Divya Pharmacy versus Union of India and others, wherein he affirmed that the principle of fair and equitable benefit sharing under the Biological Diversity Act of 2002 applies even to wholly Indian Ayurvedic companies, requiring them to share benefits with local and indigenous communities possessing traditional knowledge of Ayurvedic practices, thereby establishing a parity between Indian and foreign companies under the Act. Justice Sudhanshu Dhulia's tenure at the Uttarakhand High Court has been defined by his unwavering dedication to environmental conservation, with a particular focus on protecting the fragile ecosystems of the Himalayas. A notable example is his judgment in the PIL case Rakshit Joshi versus State of Uttarakhand 2020, where he directed the state to adopt sustainable tourism practices in the pristine and eco-sensitive areas of Uttarakhand, reinforcing his concern for maintaining ecological balance. Additionally, in the PIL matter of Sainath Seva Mandal versus State of Uttarakhand 2017, Justice Dhulia has emerged as a proactive advocate for environmental responsibility, instituting guidelines for solid waste management for the state of Uttarakhand, thereby ensuring that the state's development is harmonized with the preservation of its forests and pristine landscapes. On January 10, 2021, Justice Dhulia was elevated to the position of the Chief Justice of Guwahati High Court, where he continued to exemplify judicial excellence. In this role, he authored a significant judgment affirming the prohibition of religious instructions in the state-funded education institutions. This ruling upheld the provision of Article 28(1) of the Indian Constitution, which reinforced the constitutional mandate that religious education cannot be imparted in institutions financed by the state. On May 9, 2022, Justice Dhulia was appointed as a judge of the Supreme Court of India, marking yet another milestone in his distinguished career. His tenure at the highest court of the land has been equally impactful. He has authored several landmark judgments, including the Chandrabhan versus Mukhtiar Singh and others 2024, Rakesh Raman versus Kavita 2023, the Veena Vadhini Teachers Training Institute versus State of Madhya Pradesh and others 2023, to name a few. These rulings have positioned him as a staunch advocate for human rights and constitutional liberty. Justice Dhulia's judicial legacy extends beyond his judgments. As an advocate for environmental protection, he has emerged as a leading figure in promoting ecological stewardship. His rulings and directions on environment and other matters have not only guided government policy, but also inspired individuals, particularly the Forest Service officers, to approach their duties with a greater sense of commitment and integrity. Honorable Justice Dhulia's tenure in Supreme Court, which will extend until his retirement on August 9, 2025, promises to continue this legacy of judicial integrity, environmental consciousness, and advocacy for the protection of fundamental rights, reinforcing his stature as both a guardian of justice and a champion of the environment. With this, I once again extend my heartfelt greetings to Honorable Justice Dhulia for gracing us with his presence on this solemn occasion. And now, I invite IFS Probationer Ms. Kirti Chaudhary to lead the program further. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Abhimanyu, for giving a very insightful introduction of our honorable chief guest. Ladies and gentlemen, before we commence the formal proceedings of the event, we would like to partake in a symbolic ritual that holds deep cultural significance, the lighting of lamps, followed by the floral tributes to Kirti Chakra P. Srinivas Sir. I request Honorable Lordship Sudhanshu Dhulia Sir to lead us in this symbolic act of kindling the lamp. I also request Director Indira Gandhi National Forest Academy to kindly join for lighting the lamps. I request Srimati Kanchan Devi, DG ICFRE, Shri Pankaj Agarwal, IFS retired, Shri Ghirdiyal Sir, to please join in lighting the lamps. The lamps shall brighten our hearts and minds, guiding us through the event with brilliance and inspiration. May the radiance of this lamp illuminate our paths as we navigate through the enlightening discussion. Now I request Director Indira Gandhi National Forest Academy to kindly guide our chief guest to take a seat in the dignitaries' row for the next part of the event. Thank you, sirs and madams. To take these proceedings further, we have a short video for you that highlights the important events from the life of Kirti Chakra P. Srinivas Sir, a glimpse into the life of the great personality. I request to please play the video. Today, we have received a message from the family members of P. Srinivas sir to be shared with the learned gathering. It is my immense pleasure to share this heartfelt message by sister of Sri P. Srinivas sir. She sends, "Welcome all dignitaries on stage, volunteers and admirers of P. Srinivas. Chief guest, Honorable Lordship Sudhanshu Dhulia sir, Director, Indira Gandhi National Forest Academy, Dr. Jagmohan Sharma, other dignitaries and beloved trainee officers. Myself, sister of Kirti Chakra P. Srinivas. I express sincere thanks to the authorities of this institute and all fraternity organizing this annual Kirti Chakra P. Srinivas Memorial Lecture. It gives us immense pleasure to be with you and share our thoughts along with you on this sacred occasion. Small introduction about me. Rajya Lakshmi, wife of Sri Roop Kumar. I am Srinivas's eldest younger sister, school headmaster by profession, retired in 2020. Srinivas, whom we call as Murali, is my elder brother, and I'm proud to be his sister. I'm happy to see you all who admire him so much. My brother, who displayed valor, commitment, and dedication for a noble cause of the wildlife, was killed in action under Operation Virappan on 10th November 1991, thus setting an example of supreme sacrifice, courage, and dedication. On 10th November, Government of India declared this day as Foresters' Memorial Day in memory of supreme sacrifice of his life for the noble cause of the nation. My brother believed in goodness of human beings. Being forest officers, you are main custodians of ecosystem. This knowledge and culture of balancing ecosystem needs to be inculcated in present and coming generations. Before concluding, I would like to request each of you who are future of India that feel proud of our culture. We extend our profound grateful thanks to the authorities and organizers for this kind and generous invitation, and best wishes to everyone here. Jai Hind. Thank you, ma'am, for this very heartfelt message. The most awaited point in time of the program has arrived. We are all honored to learn more on the occasion of Kirti Chakra P. Srinivas Memorial Lecture from our chief guest, Honorable Lordship Justice Sudhanshu Dhulia sir. Sir's commitment to our nation mirrors our exploration into the profound insights and reflections that will unfold during the memorial lecture. The theme for today's lecture is probity, dedication, and integrity of a civil servant in a democracy. Without further ado, please join me in extending a warm welcome to our chief guest, Honorable Mr. Justice Sudhanshu Dhulia, for delivering the much-awaited memorial lecture. I request everyone to please welcome Sir. Sir, we'll request to switch on the lights.
Fine. Whatever. I can't see anyone.
Please switch on the lights.
So, Dr. Jagmohan Sharma, Director, Indira Gandhi National Forest Academy. Mrs. Kanchan Devi, Director General, ICFRE, Shri Rajkumar Bajpayee, Additional Director, IGNFA, Dr. Samir Sinha, my old friend, IFS, former IFS, Uttarakhand, Dr. Sanjeev Chopra, my very dear friend and a buddy from university days back in the 80s, and who was an IAS officer and retired finally as a director of Labasna. Mr. MC Ghildial, an IFS, and also my relative, who's also kind enough to be here. My cousin, Anita Ghildial Joshi, who's also here, so nice of you. And thank you, all of you. You know, so many of you are here, particularly the probationer officers of 2025 batch, civil servants, police officers, forest officers, advocates, senior advocates, lawyers from other states, other districts, and law students. Thank you very much for coming here. And thank you very much for inviting me to give this Srinivas Memorial Lecture. This lecture is in the memory of a great forester and civil servant who gave his life in the line of duty. An introduction has already been given of P. Srinivas. I'll just like to touch upon that. Srinivas was a 1979 batch IFS officer of Karnataka cadre, whom we all know attained martyrdom on 10th November 91 at a very young age of 37. He was awarded posthumously Kirti Chakra in 92, which is the second highest peacetime gallantry award. Now for me, Srinivas is an example of what is called passion for your work. His job went beyond the call of his duty as an officer, and as I see it, he was indeed an officer of the people. As Deputy Conservator of Forests, he undertook development activities, including constructing houses, connecting roads, drinking water channels, helping the building of local schools, organizing mobile dispensaries, organizing cooperatives to sell minor forest products, and generating awareness in community about wildlife, biodiversity, and environment. He took upon himself to successfully reform and rehabilitate several persons of the locality, of the village, who were earlier involved in deforestation activities, perhaps even poaching. So in that way, he was a kind of a social reformer. Srinivas was the first to arrest Virappan, I am told. Virappan, the infamous sandalwood smuggler who operated for over 30 years in Karnataka forest and is said to have killed over 500 elephants for the ivory. Srinivasan developed a network of informers against Virappan, and his work led to surrender of most of Virappan's men, including his brother. The philanthropic activity of Srinivasan also led to surrender and then to a speedy trial of those who had actually given up their arms. He even employed Virappan's sister in a health clinic. Such was his magnanimity, his humanism, and his empathy. He believed that, like others, Virappan may also surrender, and that is what he was actually working upon. However, fate had its own way, and he was brutally killed by Virappan and killed by deceit. Years later, as we know, Virappan was also killed in what is now common knowledge is one of the most exhaustive, expensive search, and had been given up by almost everyone as unfeasible. Today I am told the residents of Gopinath village of Virappan offer prayer to the idol of Srinivas and worship him along with their deity Mariamman. This is the legacy of P. Srinivas. Now, I'll briefly touch upon what is a very good expression of French known as esprit de corps, which is a community feeling among servicemen. Like you are 23, 25 batch, you must have that spirit that now you belong to a particular service. And you not only have to excel in that service, you have to do the best in that service. You have to do something remarkable for this country so that good foundations are laid by your work. But before I do that, let me tell you what my impression was there of Indian Forest Service when I was growing up in 60s and 70s in Allahabad. See, we thought the common impression of all of us who were growing up of Forest Service was that there's nothing to do in this Forest Service, you just enjoy it. You have an open wheelie jeep and it's a very adventurous life. All the animals, the lions, all the cheetahs and the tigers are friendly to you. Maybe you get a chance to catch a bandit, you fight with him, and of course you'll win. And if you're lucky, one day when you come to your forest tent and you're lucky, then you may find a beautiful courtesan in your tent like the hero in Pakiza does, Rajkumar. And then you'll sing, Chalo Dildar Chalo, Chand ke Paar Chalo. That kind of a stuff. But as we matured, we knew that what kind of a service it is, what kind of a dedication, the hard work it needs. The life of Srinivas is an example for that. Like any other service, any other public service, it needs dedication, honesty, and integrity, and a lot of passion. All these qualities Srinivas had. Srinivas was not simply trying to fight a bandit, he was trying to counter the factors which favored these bandits and was trying to turn all these factors in the favor of the forest department and the government. For this, he made all possible efforts to win the confidence and affection of the community of people who was staying in the jungle and considered this bandit Virappan as their hero. Srinivas was in many ways a crusader for justice, for the poor and the marginalized. And let me tell you, I was not knowing much about Srinivas. I only started knowing about it when I met Dr. Jagmohan. And then I not only saw that Netflix film, but I read many articles, the reference of Srinivas in memoirs of many of the forest officers. And then I realized what kind of a man he was. He was really a person who had empathy for the people. And this is how he wanted to encounter that bandit. This was something very unique in his character. I'm absolutely firm belief that Srinivas understood the stakes of the village and forest community in the forest. Srinivas understood the sanctity and importance of forest panchayats, and more importantly of forest groves, which is a very neglected area amongst officers. Now today, most of us, and particularly the forest officers, are very familiar with the Forest Act. There's the Indian Forest Act, there is the Forest Conservation Act, Wildlife Act. But there's one act which I feel is kind of a neglected act, and which is the Biodiversity Protection Act of 2002. This needs the attention of foresters a great deal, and particularly of those who are in power, because this is an act which has been enacted in order to preserve the rich biodiversity of this country. As nobody knows better than you, that India is one of those fortunate countries which has got a very rich biodiversity. This is an act, if it is properly implemented, which will preserve that rich biodiversity of this country, which is our heritage and which is our national wealth. Just a small reference to this act. As we know, the Biological Diversity Act was enacted by the Parliament in the year 2002, which is as a result of the United Nations Convention of Biological Diversity in the year 1992 at Rio de Janeiro, of which India is a signatory and which had three main objectives: conservation of biological diversity, sustainable use of its component, and fair and equitable sharing of the benefits arising out of the utilization of genetic resources. It is on these three principles that the Biological Diversity Act is based. It has some very thoughtful provisions, like creation of a National Biodiversity Authority at the center and a state biodiversity at the level of each state. I would refer here to Section 36, capital B, and Section 37 of Biodiversity Act. Shrikant is there? Is there? So you can see Section 36, the state government to develop strategies and plan for conservation and sustainable use of biological diversity. And the Section 37, I think this is not the actual section which you have quoted. This is a reference perhaps somewhere else. Section 36B, you just quoted the Section 36B says, the state government shall develop strategies, plans, programs for the conservation and promotion and sustainable use of biological diversity, including measures for identification and monitoring of areas rich in biological resources, promotion of its situ and ex situ conservation and biological resources, including cultivators, folk varieties, incentives for researchers, trainers, and public education to increase awareness with respect to biodiversity in conformity with the national strategies, plan, and programs. I wonder how much of work has been done in this, because a lot has been done, and to my knowledge, when I was in Uttarakhand, nothing much had happened here. Then see Section 37. Without prejudice to any of the law for the timing in force, based on the recommendations of the State Biodiversity Board, the state government may from time to time notify in the official gazette areas of biodiversity importance as biodiversity heritage site under this act. To my knowledge, these sites have not been identified as yet. And this is very important. So I take this opportunity in beseeching all of you, kindly, particularly those foresters, and particularly those who are in power, to do something about it, because time is running out. These sites are being destroyed. And this is an act, you already have a weapon in your hand by which you can preserve these sites. Unfortunately, nothing has happened here, although we claim, in Uttarakhand we claim that, anywhere between 65 to 70% of our land is forest cover. So a lot needs to be done here. Another aspect which I want to underline to the young foresters is about the forest panchayats. See, in Uttarakhand, there is a concept called forest panchayat. I'm sure it will be there in other states as well. It is called one panchayats here, where the village community have a participation in management of forest area which are adjacent to their village. They've got certain rights over those forests. And one thing you will notice, that wherever, in whichever hill areas, these forest panchayats are well managed, you will find either there are no forest fires, or if, God forbid, there is one, is it easily controlled. The reason being that people who of the community have a stake in the forest. We must have more and more participation of villagers in this, in the management of forests. These forest panchayat, wherever possible, I can understand some places not possible, but wherever possible, we must encourage forest panchayat so that the local community must participate in it, because ultimately all this is going to be for the benefit of the state and for the country. Because particularly, this Uttarakhand is a place where there is a lot of awareness for environment among the villagers. This is a place, don't forget, where Chipko movement was born. And this Chipko movement, which started from here, has now inspired similar movements in various other states, in Madhya Pradesh, in Kerala. They're known by different names, but inspired by Chipko movement. So, you don't have to do much as far as spreading awareness to villagers is concerned. They're already aware. You need to encourage them. You need their participation. And the more they participate, the more you gain their confidence. I can bet you'll be controlling a lot of things, particularly the forest fires. Now, when I look at the topic which has been there today is, I'll be slightly straying from the topic. I'll try to stick to it as far as possible. But one thing I must say that we owe a lot to civil servants of this country. They have been rightly called the steel frame of India. And we all owe a great deal of debt to them, to bureaucracy, to our policemen, to our foresters, and to all other branch of civil service who are in public service. I am largely here emphasizing three qualities of a civil servant. A, of course, it's honesty and integrity. Then it's commitment towards his work, his passion towards the work. And third, the transparency and technology, which leads to fairness and objectivity as well. These are the three aspects which I think are at the moment absolutely essential. I'll just touch upon them. See, the first I'll touch is the transparency and the technology part. See, computers came in this country in the 80s, slowly, very slowly, and then they came like a wave. And then by now, all of us are in a digital world. What is real and what is virtual and what is virtual and what is real is sometimes difficult to even distinguish. I was the one who was earlier of an old school of thought. I like reading books. I can't read them, unless I pick up a book. Like I cannot read a Kindle. Even if when I write by long hands, That's how I am. But I realize the immense importance of technology, computers in this digital world for one reason. And that is that this is going to bring transparency in our work, and to some extent at least, it is going to check corruption also. For this reason, we must bring technology and the digitalization in whichever way we are working. As far as judiciary is concerned, let me tell you, all the courts of this country today, right from the district court to an outlying court of a munsif in some area, to the high courts and to the Supreme Court, are connected by something called the National Judicial Grid. Today, if you want, by press of a button, you can identify your case, you can know what was the last date in your case, whether it was taken up or it was not taken up, it was adjourned, for what reason, all that you'll get. You also judge how much is he doing, how much of work is he doing, how much is he performing, how much cases has he decided in a particular month. All this is now available. Now this has only happened through technology. And therefore the use of technology is absolutely essential. Let me tell you, there's another new technology which has come up now in Supreme Court, which is called SUVAS. It's an AI-driven system where all the judgments of Supreme Court now, which are in English, will be available in all the 22 languages which are in the 8th schedule. By now, when I'm speaking to you, more than 25 judgments have already been translated. Mostly now, as of now, in Hindi, in Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, Malayalam, Bengali, Marathi and Gujarati. But the plan is that all the 22 languages of the 8th schedule must be covered. By press of a button, somebody who knows only, let's say, Nepali, which is an 8th schedule language, this will happen a few years, he will read the judgment in Nepali language. So this is all possible through technology. So technology is very important. The second is the commitment and the passion which you have for your work. And this is what I think distinguished P. Srinivas from other foresters. Look at the passion he had. Look at the challenge he undertook, catching a bandit, and he knew his life was at stake. But he did it. Only a person who has got real passion for his work will undertake this kind of a work. Srinivas had that. And all this he wanted to do through the work he was supposed to do, through a forester, through a forest officer. He mobilized men. He had leadership qualities, you know. He could inspire men and women of the forest community and the villages to rally them for a common cause. And that is what angered, I'm told, Veerappan finally, that here is a person who's now taking away all my followers, and one day I'll reduce to nothing. That was the reason why Srinivas was actually finally killed by deceit, by Veerappan. Now, I'll just give you an example by what I mean by passion. I'll just tell you a story. You see, when I was growing up in Allahabad, this was in late 70s, early 80s, late 70s perhaps, we used to wear those leather chappals of Bata. So I had one recently bought for me by my parents, and that was coming for good use. But then it used to happen, you know, one leather took off for some reason. So as you people of my age would remember, I don't know whether it happens now, there's always a cobbler in your town, in your village, in every bazaar. You go to him, what he'll do, he'll put it in that steel car and he'll put thak, do keel, and he'll give it to you, and you're very happy. And this is what used to happen. But that mending of my chappal lasted only for 3, 4, 5 days, and I was not having enough money to buy a new chappal. So I had to manage somehow. I had to get it repaired. So it was quite nagging. So one day when I was going and I was about to see a movie and I was waiting outside, I saw a person who was doing this work, cobbler. He was a middle-aged man sitting inside a shade, some aam ka ped. And I said, ki, aap isko aap theek kar doge? Usne kaha, in his avadhi, mein time lagi, but it'll take some time. So it'll take half an hour. And I said, okay. So I was waiting for it. And then when he did was, he took out a small bag, he took out some small pieces of leather from it. Then he took out another string and he did something with that and some kind of a paste. And he saw the chappal, you know, and then he took out something from the chappal and then he inserted a small piece of leather, and on top of it he stitched it and another stitch, and after half an hour he gave it to me and it was like a new chappal. I mean, that perfection he had, that dedication he had for the work he was doing, that is needed. You know, all of you are very fortunate. You know, you are in the topmost service of one of the topmost services of the country. Look what you can do. As foresters, as somebody who's occupying one of the highest posts, you'll be taking decisions in your forest areas. You'll be talking to people, the villagers. And since many of you would be joining Uttarakhand, here is a place, you know, where a lot can be done by a forester with passion. Another, when we talk about passion, I can't help remembering in many ways my mentor, my guide, A civil servant who was also the chief secretary of the state, Dr. Tolia. See, when Uttarakhand was just created and I came from Allahabad and I was a chief standing counsel here and I used to discuss with him. I never met him initially. So we used to talk. So one day I said, we must have a conference because there's a lot of fight going on between UP and Uttarakhand regarding division of assets. So he said, I'll come next week, but this week, if you are in Dehradun, so I was in Dehradun, we met, and we had a wonderful conference. And that day, I had gone to meet somebody in Rajpur Road. And at that time, this secretariat was not having that high wall, that was, you could see what is there in the building inside. And when I was going, I was passing through that road, Subhash Road, perhaps it's called, I could see it was 11 o'clock in the night, and it was a Saturday, and Dr. Tolia was sitting and doing his work on a Saturday night. There was no Saturday, there was no Sunday for him, because Uttarakhand was a new state. Not many people were doing, there were no ready-made scripts, how to handle a new state. All this was done largely by the efforts of Dr. Tolia. He depended so much upon me on legal advice, something, and in the middle of the night, he'll call me, this is the problem, come tomorrow, we'll have a conference, things like that. Why I'm speaking of Dr. Tolia was, but prior to when he became the chief secretary, he was secretary FRDS, where, right? FRDS, no? FRDC, right. So that included the forest and rural development, and all the file used to come to him. He was like a chief secretary of those departments. And he was passionate about it. He knew each and every forest division, idhar kya hai, idhar ye hota hai, idhar ye hota hai, all minute details he knew. So that was his passion. Now finally, to honesty and integrity part, which I think is the most fundamental for any civil servant. Here, I'll just tell you again two stories. One is a real story about two gentlemen, two judges. Shrikant, if you can. Shrikant, yeah. This is a story about if you come to my house in Delhi, in my office you will find a portrait of these two gentlemen. The one on the right with the moustache is called Giovanni Falcone, and the other is Paolo Borsellino. Now, who are these two people? These were the two Italian judges who brought the Italian mafia to its knees, yes, to justice, with their legal acuity, their integrity and courage, and for the love of their country. They were both Sicilians, born in the 40s in Palermo, which is the capital of Sicily. They were perhaps childhood friends, and they chose judiciary as their career. In the late 80s in Sicily, a great trial took place. If you can go to Google and try it, many of the mafia persons were tried, mafiosos, and it is known as a maxi trial. Many of the judges recused. Many of you may not be knowing because like in India, we follow a system called the common law system, which is in the island, in England, where an accused is supposed to be innocent till is proved guilty. That's one of the fundamental principles. In the continent, like in Germany, France, Italy, the system which is followed is called the civil law system, where an accused is guilty till he proves his innocence. And there are many other aspects also. In fact, the magistrate and the prosecuting lawyer also sometimes interchange. That the service is like that. They come, if you go to the courts there, they come from the same door. And initially, when an accused is brought to the judge, There's nobody in the room except for the prosecuting officer, the judge and the accused. And he asks a question to the accused. I think in many ways, there's something to be learned, although there's going to be fierce opposition if you bring it to here, because we have a different kind of a system. But anyway, this was known as a maxi trial, which resulted in ultimately 475 mafia men were convicted and sentenced to imprisonment, many to life. Falcone presided over the trial, which lasted from February 86 to 92. This kind of a trial, which resulted in conviction of this nature, had never been witnessed in Italy before. It was also a verdict which was upheld right till the Supreme Court of Italy. And most of them either not died or are still in jail. But then ultimately Mafia took its revenge. Both these judges were assassinated by Mafia in the year 1992 itself. First, it was Falcone on May 23rd, 1992. And then less than 2 months later, Borsellino on July 19, 1992. Both were killed by a similar fashion. Their cars were blown off by a powerful bomb. It is said that when Falcone was killed in that car explosion by bomb, the explosion was so severe that it was recorded as an earthquake. 2 months later, his friend was also killed in a similar fashion. If you go to Palermo, which is an international airport of Palermo, that airport is now known as Falcone Borsellino Airport. And outside the airport, there is also a memorial of these two judges. They signified one aspect very clearly, which is, in fact, Falcone knew, both of them knew that they're going to be killed. 6 months prior to his assassination, there was an interview in which Falcone said, "Look, I know I'm going to be killed." So they said, "Why do you say that?" He said, "Because I have opened my account with the Mafia, and this account will be closed only with my death." He said that this is some kind of a code with Mafia, but he never refused. Once he was offered, he said, "I'm going to do it." That kind of honesty, that kind of an integrity to service, not many can have, but they can be an inspiration at least to all of us. The second example I want to give you is again from a novel by Narayan Sanyal called Satyakam. This was also made in a film in 1969 by Rishikesh Mukherjee by the same name, Satyakam, which is the name, and the story also is borrowed from a story from an Upanishad, Chandok Upanishad. There is a story of Jambala and Satyakam and Rishi Gautam. But in the novel and in the film, it's a story of an engineer. It's a new era. The country has just gained its independence. And the new civil engineer, our hero, is employed as a civil engineer by a private firm. And because of his integrity or honesty, he's not able to stick to any of this job. Either he has to resign or he is thrown out, but he never compromises on his integrity. Once what happens is that he's complaining. As you must be knowing, every week or monthly there are meetings with the ministers. So there's a meeting with the minister in which he complains about the fact that his bills are not being passed and things of that nature. And he says, why it is not being done? He says, they are demanding money. So the minister, who seems to be a very wise old man, very experienced, he says, look, unless you give it to me in writing, I'll not be able to do anything for it. He refuses, and they have a tussle, and they have some hot exchanges, and he leaves the meeting. Our hero leaves the meeting. But then, in the evening in his house, this minister comes in his car. And he tells him something which I want to repeat here. I mean, these are the exact words. I will request Mr. and Dr. Sharma to show this film to the young officers. He says, beta, and this is to all the young officers who want to be honest and true to their job. This is what you'll have to face. He says, बेटा जिंदगी में तुम बहुत दुख देखोगे, बहुत कुछ बर्दाश्त करना पड़ेगा, लेकिन तुम्हारा ये दुख और दर्द ही तो हमारी आखिरी उम्मीद है. इसी पर हमारे भविष्य की नींव रखी है. मैं नहीं जानता कि मुझे तुम्हें आशीर्वाद देने का हक है कि नहीं, लेकिन मैं उम्र में तुमसे बड़ा होने के नाते दुआ करता हूँ, परमात्मा तुम्हारी इस बहादुरी को हमेशा कायम रखे. Those of you who don't understand Hindi, let me just translate. He says, son, you are going to see a lot of misery in your life. You will have to bear a lot. But then, it is this pain and suffering which is also our last hope. Your foundation, the foundation of our future stands on it. I'm not sure whether I am capable of blessing you. But since I am elder to you in age, therefore I can at least pray that God may always give you strength to keep your courage. There has been a great jurist, which most of you must be familiar with, and a lawyer called H.M. Sirvai. In fact, he has written one of the most authoritative commentary on the Indian Constitution in 3 volumes. Now, when he passed away, his wife took out a book. It had various articles from eminent judges, lawyers, which is called The Legacy of Sirvai, in which his wife also wrote an article, and she said that my husband was known for his integrity. He said, my husband was very fond of one quote of Sir Walter Scott. And this he had written and put in his chamber. And this was, Walter Scott had said, without courage, there is no truth. And without truth, there can be no other virtue. So by your honesty and integrity, what you will be doing, you may not be getting the returns in this lifetime also. But again, you will be laying down foundation of a great country. I can tell you examples of various judges. You know how many judges we remember? There have been chief justices and eminent judges, judges who have served for a long time. But all of us remember a judge called Justice H.R. Khanna, who had gave his dissent in that habeas corpus matter, where the Supreme Court had decided in 76, I think, that once there is an emergency imposed, all the citizens of this country lose all fundamental rights, including Article 21. You have nothing like a life and liberty. Justice Khanna made this very strong dissent. And he is the one who is remembered even today. He never became the chief. This judgment cost him the office of the Chief Justice of India. But he gave it. And he, in his memoir, it's a short memoir, which you must read, called Neither Thorn Nor Roses, in which he says, when I was writing the judgment that day, I was determined. I was slightly troubled, so I came to Uttarakhand. Came to Haridwar, and I used to stay in Damkoti. And that night I was there with my wife, and it was late at night, and my wife told me, what is worrying you? He said, nothing is worrying me, but I know I've just written a judgment which is going to cost me the office of the Chief Justice of India. And the next day he gave that judgment. 2 days later, the news came that his junior has been made the Chief Justice, and the same day he resigned. Justice Khanna is remembered. The present Chief Justice of India is his nephew. The present Justice Sanjeev Khanna is the nephew of Justice H.R. Khanna. So I wanted to say all these things to you, not as a, I didn't want to do any gyan ki baat, but just wanted to say something to you so that you can inspire you. You are very young, you know. You are the one who have got idealism. I don't have that idealism. You have it. And I'll stop here with a short poem of Fahmida Riaz. It's a nazm, which is for the young probationers of 23-25 batch. कुछ लोग तुम्हें समझाएंगे. I mean, for those who don't know Hindi or Urdu, please tell your friends, translate it to them. I'll tell the gist of what it is. कुछ लोग तुम्हें समझाएंगे, वो तुमको खौफ दिलाएंगे. जो है वो भी खो सकता है, कुछ और यहां हो सकता है, कुछ और तो अक्सर होता है. इस राह में रहज़न है इतने, कुछ और यहां हो सकता है, कुछ और तो अक्सर होता है. पर तुम जिस पल में जिंदा हो, वो पल भी तुमसे जिंदा है. ये वक्त नहीं फिर आएगा, तुम अपनी करनी कर गुजरो, जो होगा देखा जाएगा. थैंक यू.
Thank you very much, sir. I request you to kindly take a seat on the stage as we have an interaction following this. Sir, your words have not only illuminated the ethical standards expected of civil servants in a democratic society, but have indeed rekindled in us a noble sense of purpose, urging us to rise to the sanctified trust bestowed upon us by the people of India. Thank you very much, sir. I request everyone to please thank sir with a huge round of applause. Now, with the kind permission of our chief guest, we open the house for an interaction. Over to the IFS probationers of 55th RR gathered here. Anybody has any questions? Please raise your hands. IFS probationer Venkat Shrikar Patel.
I think you should ask questions to Dr. Sharma and Dr. Sanjeev Chopra. They have, if there is any difficult question, I'll give it to them. So ask me easy questions.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm Venkatesh Shrikar Patel from Bengaluru, Karnataka, IFS probationer.
Yeah.
Born on Uttar Pradesh. My question is as follows. As an aspirant for UPSC exam, I have read how much Supreme Court has played a crucial role in conservation of forest and environment. Forest Rights Act 2006 was enacted, and there was wisdom.
Which act? Which act?
Forest Rights Act 2006.
Forest?
Rights Act.
Forest Right Act.
So the wisdom of the
Forest Dwellers Act.
Yes, sir.
Forest Dwellers.
Yes, sir. So the legislature, in its wisdom, enacted this act, but many of the intellectual community opine that FRA spells doom for the conservation of forests in our country. The legislature also set a cutoff date in the act of 13 December 2005 to make 3 generations of those who have depended on the forest resources for livelihood to claim the rights. So my question is as follows. Should there not be a cutoff date till when the application should be accepted? It should not be that after 40 years also we are still submitting our applications for the land rights. And the second question is that testimony of the elderly persons is accepted as an evidence to accept or not if the person has been staying in the forest for 3 generations, depending for his livelihood purposes. whereas the satellite imageries or the satellite image evidences are just corroborative evidences. So what can be done to prevent the misuse of these provisions, sir? Thank you.
Yeah, you see, you're right. You're Srinivas? Sorry? Your name?
Shrikar, sir. Venkata Shrikar.
Mr. Venkatesh Shikash. You are right. You see, I am with you. There are some gray areas in this act. There are some problems in this act because though it was a good act with a lot of good intentions for the forest dwellers, I can see there is some abuse of this law somewhere, particularly this cutoff date and all that. There have been some decisions of some high courts on this. There are a few decisions of, I think, Chhattisgarh High Court and other on how to tackle this problem. I don't know whether there is still a decision for Supreme Court on this. But there is a problem. But you see, the problem is that as long as this is a law, it's a parliament legislation, you have to follow it, I have to follow it. Unless the parliament changes it, this has to be followed. But there are some areas, I think some amendments will be brought in. By and large, it's good. By and large, it's a good act.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, Shrikar. Next probationer, Sarthak Parasha.
Good morning, sir. My name is Sarthak Parasha, sir. Sir, first and foremost, sir, I want to appreciate the role of judiciary in giving a lot of support to the forest staff, forest department in carrying out their duties, sir. Sir, but I also want to point out, so there is, very humbly, sir, there is a sense of apprehension in a lot of forest officers on ground with respect to judicial aspects taking a lot of their time, sir. Like they have a fear, a sense of fear in taking out any action that they might be pulled up by any court. And in the end also that they end up taking devoting a lot of their time and attention in catering to the court cases, sir. And while, sir, there is a very deep faith in the justice that judiciary will deliver at the end, but the process itself is, it can be little tedious for them, sir. So my humble question is, sir, can anything be done to build this trust deficit, sir? That's it, sir. Thank you.
Trust deficit between whom?
Sir, between judiciary and the bureaucrats, sir.
Oh, really? Okay, Paras. You see, the thing is, yes, there is a... Now, what you are perhaps referring to is an old practice. Now, Supreme Court hardly calls any officer, hardly, in very rare cases. In high courts also this trend has declined. Earlier there used to be this trend, if an order has not been followed and all that, those kind of things were there. But as long as the civil servants are doing their work, I don't think there's anything to fear because both of us are doing the same work. We are working for the people, we are working for the nation only. So our intentions are the same, our goal is the same. Sometimes, there are some misunderstandings or at times some order cannot be followed. I can understand that also. As and when they are brought to the notice of you see, let me tell you one thing, let me share a secret with you. The High Court and the Supreme Court, the most painful thing they want to do ever is to take up a contempt matter. Nobody wants to do it. Nobody. So, whenever such things come, all the efforts are there most of the time to resolve it. Just see how it can be done. If it cannot be done fully, maybe some 70%, 80% you comply with it. Tell us the difficulties, the orders are also modified. But you shouldn't fear the court. I mean, that's the last thing you should do, unless there is something to fear. Then there's a problem.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Sarthak. Due to paucity of time, we'll take only this many questions from IFS probationer. We can take one question from students of UPES, Law Faculty UPES. Does anybody have a question?
A very good afternoon, sir. Myself, Sukrit Katria from School of Law, UPS. As a law student and related to the forest and environment conservation, my question is like, currently while we are studying law, a lot of students do not see their future in environmental law. Like still now it's a very narrow concept from a student's point of view. Most of them are either going towards corporate or a litigation, but a narrow field which is a very important field I feel, referring to environmental law. How can we pursue, or what are the things which we should keep in mind to follow that and move ahead in that path?
I think when we were growing up, when we were doing our law, you were right, then this was a problem for us. If we were interested in environmental law, there was very limited options available for us, not now. Now, companies offer you job to experts who have done some research or who have done some masters in environmental law. NGOs want you desperately. And in big firms, sometimes you are needed. You can even, there are many posts now, for example, in Pollution Control Board. There are posts available where they need a lawyer. So, and then of course, as a lawyer, as a litigator, you can always go there. As a public-spirited lawyer, you can always raise these issues before the court in form of a PIL. So it's an important, environmental law is a very important law now. It's being taught among students. In my days when I was in school, there was nothing like environment studies. Now there is a separate subject. When my son was studying in St. Joseph in 7th, there was a subject called environmental studies. So that's very good. Now, as we are getting aware, as things are going on, and this is, awareness for environment is absolutely, absolutely necessary. See, I am a person who have been with this movement. I know what people have been doing at the grassroots level for environment. And I know the problems which is there. Unless and until each one of us get conscious for the environment and all, things are going to be very difficult for all of us. So don't lose heart. There's a lot of work to be done in the environment area as lawyers.
Thank you, sir. So, on behalf of everyone present here, I express our deepest gratitude for sharing your valuable perspectives. Now I request Director Indira Gandhi, National Forest Academy, to please come on the stage for the momentous memento presentation ceremony. I now request Director Indira Gandhi, National Forest Academy, to please present the memento to the chief guest as a token of high respect and gratitude. Thank you, sirs. Now I would like to invite Mr. Neeraj Yadav, IFS probationer, to present a formal vote of thanks.
Thank you, Kirti. Distinguished Chief Guest, Honorable Mr. Justice Sudhanshu Dhulia, Indira Gandhi National Forest Academy Director Dr. Jagmohan Sharma, esteemed guests, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon to all of you. It is my honor and privilege to offer a formal vote of thanks on the Indian Forest Service Officer Kirti Chakra recipient Shri P. Srinivas. First and foremost, I express my heartfelt gratitude to our chief guest, Honorable Mr. Justice Sudhanshu Dhulia, for gracing this memorial lecture with your esteemed presence. Honorable Sir, your participation lends profound significance to this event and will undoubtedly serve as an inspiration to all of us. We are truly humbled by your benevolence in taking time from your busy schedule to join us here today. I would also like to express our heartfelt appreciation to the siblings and other family members of Kirti Chakra recipient P. Srinivas who have joined us virtually to pay their respects. I would like to convey my sincere gratitude to our director, Dr. Jagmohan Sharma, for his unwavering guidance and steadfast support in organizing this program. Your personal involvement and meticulous attention to detail have been instrumental in elevating this event to this level of grandeur and significance. My deep gratitude also goes to other esteemed guests who have honored us with their presence. Shrimati Kanchan Devi, Director General of Indian Council of Forestry Research and Education. Shri Sameer Sinha, PCCF Uttarakhand. Mr. Sanjeev Chopra, former Director, Labasna. Shri Rajkumar Bajpayee, Additional Director, Indira Gandhi National Forest Academy. Professor Harish Purohit, Professor Harsh Dobhal, Ms. Anupama Joshi, Ms. Anita Joshi from Doon University and other distinguished organizations. Your esteemed participation is a testament to the high regard in which the legacy of Shri P. Srinivas is held, and we are truly grateful for your support. I am also grateful to the honorable judges, senior judicial officers, officer bearers of Bar Association Dehradun, and members of Bar Council Uttarakhand for gracing this event. I would like to acknowledge the invaluable assistance and guidance provided by Professor Academics, OIC Estate, OIC IT, OIC Vehicle, and the Course Director 2023 batch. Your tireless efforts have been instrumental in ensuring the seamless execution of this program. I extend my gratitude to the scientists, faculty members, and students of law from UPS School of Law, Dehradun, who accepted the invitation and are present with us today. Furthermore, I extend our Academy's sincere gratitude to the Government of Karnataka and the Karnataka Forest Department officers who have demonstrated unwavering solidarity and support. P. Srinivas, the establishment of a museum, and the various philanthropic initiatives undertaken in his name are truly commendable and a fitting tribute to his legacy. To the entire team of IGNFA, particularly the COE cell employees, media personnels, I offer my sincere gratitude for your unwavering support and tireless participation and cooperation in making this program a resounding success. It's my deep gratitude to all the esteemed participants who have honored us are a testament to the enduring legacy of Kirti Chakra P. Srinivas and the importance we place on recognizing the sacrifice of our brave officers. Thank you and Jai Hind.
Thank you, Neeraj. Now I request everyone to please rise for the national anthem. National anthem, please.
पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगल दायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे.
With this, the program comes to a close. I request all the guests to kindly wait in front of their seats for the departure of our Honorable Chief Guest. Thank you, one and all, once again. Jai Hind.